Let's face it, you are more than a resume. You have a personality and things about you which just cannot be captured on paper. On this podcast, we are working to humanize the hiring experience by giving you a voice. So let's talk, learn from one another, and find that next great opportunity. I'm your host, Eric Ryan Jones, and this is Fire Before Christmas. Hey everybody, today I am talking with Mr. Brian Smith, who is an internal recruiter for Slalom Consulting here in the Atlanta area. He's actually the recruiter that helped me find my place at Slalom, so I'm very fortunate that he was able to come and talk to everyone today a little bit about what it's like to be a recruiter, things that he's looking for, things that other recruiters may be looking for, and just how you can make yourself kind of stand out. So Brian, welcome to the show.
Eric, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yes. So why don't you tell the people listening just a little bit about what your role is and how it may differ from, say, an external recruiter?
Sure, yeah. So my role at Slalom is really supporting a big chunk of our business in the acquisition of exceptional talent. It's, I guess, put in a less highfalutin way. I'm a recruiter, supports the business advisory side of our consulting business. Yeah, and I think when you look at headhunters, well, headhunter I guess can be brought on from either the business side or the candidate side. Typically a headhunter is someone that either one of those people are going to pay a lot of money to find either a really good candidate or find them a job. And usually it's kind of more an executive type, right, if you're on the candidate side. But I think headhunters are more akin to, I guess, the agency world, and there are a ton of them, right? So usually they're at agencies, so names like Aerotech, Tech Systems, Ronstadt. I mean, I'm sure everyone has seen the names, but a lot of times they're posting jobs. They're trying to find good folks that they can sell into larger companies, and that job is really, I think, more about selling what you can find from a talent perspective into companies, and then trying to deliver on really kind of a short time frame to fill that role. My role is a little different, right? Where I'm supporting the business, right? So more on the corporate side. So I get to be part of really part of our business advisory services team, which is a kind of a group of practices at Slalom. I get to advise, right, our leaders, and then with the ultimate goal of really finding and fulfilling and growing really good talent.
And how did you get involved in that? What led you to this role as an internal recruiter?
Yeah, so no one really goes to school to be a recruiter, and if you are, I'd strongly advise against it. But yeah, I kind of fell into recruiting. I went to school for sports management, so obviously using that on a daily basis. But no, I was trying to get a job in sports, and found everyone wanted to be in sports, and it paid close to nothing. Had to pay the bills, and just actually got a call from Aerotech to come work for them on the agency side, and it is very much a grind. It's a minimum 12-hour day that you're doing every day. I think if you like recruiting, you like talking to people, which I do. The goal is to kind of get into the corporate side of the house, right? So I had the woman that I sat next to at Aerotech ended up going to a large CPG, so Newell Rubbermaid at the time, so Newell Brands now, and she ended up getting me an interview, and I got a job and worked on the corporate side at Newell for about 4 years. Then worked for another company called Manhattan Associates for 2 years before Slalom ended up giving me a call, and I've been there ever since.
How do you find people? If you're looking for someone to come into the Slalom, and I understand that you're looking for specific people and specific things, but typically, having done multiple corporate roles, and that's your corporate recruiting role, how do you go about finding candidates? What is it that you're looking for a lot of times?
Yeah, so I think every corporate recruiting role is a little bit different in the technology, the systems that they use. I think Slalom, we're huge on referrals. So I think about over 60% of our hires come from referrals. So just kind of a lesson to anyone listening. That networking piece of what you do, I think, is so important, right? And how people find jobs. But referrals, so I push a lot of referrals. I do referral campaigns. I do referral sourcing jams, right, with our practices. Anything that we can do to highlight that. But then, systems like LinkedIn. We have a talent acquisition, an ATS, an applicant tracking system that is built on Salesforce that we use. So it's candidates that we've spoken with, or really the whole company has spoken with over the last 10 years that are put in there. So a lot of times if it's a hard to fill role, we'll go back and we'll do just some kind of keyword searching through there to see if there is resumes that have come in that people have applied like well in the past, that maybe we can go back and reach out to. Go to some meetup groups, conferences, right? Anywhere and everywhere that we can think of to really kind of get our name out there and really just meet people.
So when you're getting these internal referrals, how are they usually coming across? Is someone passing you a resume? Are they just passing you a LinkedIn profile?
It's a little bit of both. A little bit of both. So, yeah, I mean, I usually tell those that we're running referral campaigns for, I mean, really just send me a LinkedIn profile if you can. If you have a resume, great. If you have contact information, great. But really, I want a profile. I want a name, and I'll find that we have tools and technology that we can use to get contact information. But yeah, I'll find a way to reach out to them. But yeah, usually just a name and a profile is all I need for to start the referral process.
What's something that when you hit one of these profiles that you immediately go, that kind of maybe is a turnoff? Is there anything that you could see on a profile that would turn you away from a client as it would be?
Hmm. Um. I don't know. Not really. There's plenty of turn-ons, right? The hardcore turn-offs. I mean, I don't know. There are every so often, especially I think for technology roles, I'll see something in a like just the beginning of the profile that says, "Hey, recruiters, please do not reach out," or you need to have reference a name of someone if you're a recruiter before you reach out. That's always a big turnoff. Uh, I usually won't reach out to you regardless if you're going to be a good fit or not if I see that. But yeah, I mean, plenty of good turn-ons, right? I mean, I think those that I'm always looking for. Our culture at Slalom is kind of built on professional development, right, and improvement of oneself, right. So I'm looking at certifications, and that could be, and it doesn't have to be even just professional wide certification. It could be different. I don't know. Maybe you're trying to get into Salesforce and you're taking advantage of Trailheads, right, which is a free kind of learning platform that Salesforce has, right? So maybe you put some of those on there. Maybe you kind of put in your profile that you're a constant learner, right? Volunteering, nonprofit work. I mean, those are big turn-ons. I think that's something that we're pretty passionate about at Slalom too. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any really good turn-offs. I'll have to think about that and let you know.
Do you think that I've talked to a couple of people in the past here, and one of the people that I interviewed, but John Saddington, he is one of those kinds of people that just gets laser focused on an organization and does whatever he can to get that organization versus where a lot of times I think people go out and just do the shotgun where they just send out the resumes and they hit a lot of places and everything. If someone was trying to say focus in on a specific organization, is there anything that you think they could do that would help to make them elevate themselves a little bit higher? Say if someone wanted to be at Slalom or someone wanted to be at, one of the major corporations in town. Is there something that they could do on their profile that would, elevate them?
Yeah, I think absolutely there is. I think it starts with really researching that company. Yeah, I tell everyone too, even those that I bring in and we interview, and maybe they don't have enough consulting yet, or maybe they don't have enough years of experience yet. Yeah, I tell them to reach out to those within Slalom, within the corporation maybe that you want to be in, and just send some LinkedIn messages, even if it's just for if it's informational chats, if it's a coffee chat. I mean, I don't, that I know everyone says, right? I mean, that networking, building relationships, that really is, I think, the best way getting your foot in the door, right? Wherever you want to go. But when you're sending those LinkedIn messages, like do it with a purpose. Don't just say, hey, I'm Brian Smith. I'd really like to work at Slalom someday, right? Go on to our website and look at maybe cool projects that we've done. Maybe highlight even, hey, I noticed you guys have won Best Place to Work award the last few years in a row, or hey, I just saw that you're on the Fortune 100 list of best companies to work for, right? I mean, the more interest that you show, the more someone is likely to kind of pass your info on. And I can't tell you how many profiles that I've gotten sent at Slalom and previous companies, profiles that were sent down the chain to me that came from an exec because they appreciated someone reaching out and actually saw that they did their homework. But yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, we're built on, I think we're a friendly sort. So I think, if you want to work at Psalm and you emailed someone or you sent a LinkedIn message to someone, just say, hey, I'd love to chat. If it's over coffee, if it's a virtual, conversation, I think very rarely are people going to say no. Again, I can't speak for every company like that, but I think, the more you try, and try it really at the employee level, the consultant level, and then you can try throwing in an executive in there every so often and just kind of see what the response is. But sometimes it's a numbers game, right? I think too, if you find a good recruiter, or if you interview for a role where maybe, gosh, you know what, they told you, or the recruiter told you, hey, you're not a fit right now, but you still, you built that good rapport, you had a good conversation, right? Try and leverage that recruiter's network too, right? I try and tell everyone that comes through, especially, candidates that I like that maybe we just couldn't hire right now. I usually tell them, hey, use my network, go into my contacts, and if you need me to make an introduction, by all means, let me know. I'm more than happy to do that, for anyone that asks. But yeah, don't be afraid to do that, right? As you're starting your job hunt, your job search, and you start talking to, a lot of recruiters. Ask if you can leverage their network. I think that's always a good source that a lot of people don't necessarily think about.
Yeah, that networking aspect is key. I think I've only had one job in my past where it wasn't because of somebody I knew, or it wasn't because of some connection that I had with an organization. Even here at Slalom, I've before I even walked in the door, I had all kinds of connections with people using that network, and not being afraid to ask your person next to you, hey, you got a job? Of a job? Do you know of a person? Hey, if nothing else, can you put me in front of a recruiter so I can have that first interview and start getting practice there?
Yeah, exactly right.
And you do a lot of those. You do a lot of first interviews. You're kind of the main line before it goes any further. What are some good tips for people when they first sit down and talk to you?
Yeah, I think I always um, look for that vulnerability aspect, right, of people. I think it's really easy to spot a faker, and I've been doing this long enough now, longer than I like to admit, where it's pretty easy, right? I think, you sit down with someone, you can tell if they're being genuine or not, or if they're just telling you things that you want to hear. The more open, the more honest. I mean, be yourself, right? I think that's the most, simple, simple explanation I can give. But I want to know. I'm never going to ask you, hey, tell me your weaknesses. That's a terrible question, but I want to know them, and I'm never going to say. And I want you to be honest with you. Hey, you know what? Maybe I want to get in technology. I want to do more in AWS, but I haven't had that opportunity to do it. But here's what I'm doing to kind of brush up my skills. Right, here are classes that I'm taking. Here are YouTube channels that I'm subscribing to learn more about it. Right, I want to know those things. I want to know what your coworkers think of you. If you're not going to tell me, I promise I'll find a way to find out. But I want to know those things, right? I mean, those are and the open, honest, people that can look you in the eye, have a good conversation with. I mean, that's consulting is built on relationships in those conversations, right? If you can form a good relationship over 45 minutes, an hour long coffee with me, then yeah, you're doing something right. But those are and the hard skills, obviously the technology. If you're open to it and you want to learn, great. Yeah, we can teach you that. It's more how you hold a conversation, how you hold yourself. Can you get up in front of an executive and kind of not wet your pants, kind of thing. I mean, that's really what I'm looking for when I'm talking to someone.
Okay, well, talk to me a little bit more about this whole COVID-19 and how it's kind of changed the industry that you've seen in just the past 30 plus days.
Yeah, it is certainly a new way of living, a new way of working. Yeah, even just our day to days as recruiters. Where typically I am out and about, I'm having a lot of coffees, I'm trying to meet people face to face. It started off as kind of more phone conversations, with candidates when this all started, but now we're kind of utilizing technology a lot more. So, Zoom meetings and Teams meetings, and there's a company called Whereby that's a super easy video chat that we use, but that's usually my go-to. But it's being able to. I did one yesterday, and I could tell candidate was nervous, and she had her husband was right next to her, who's in sales and is on the phone all day, and I could tell, right? So I think it's part of kind of this new way of living is showing people that, hey, it's okay, right? I think if your dog is barking in the background or your kids are running around, that's normal now, right? So I think part of it is trying to reassure candidates that yeah, I just want to sit down. I want to have as close to a face-to-face conversation with you as I can, and be able to look you in the eye. And I don't care if your dog is running around or your kids are playing in the background. Mine are doing the same thing, right? So that certainly changed just how we go about recruiting. And I think right now we're kind of in this weird, not freeze, but kind of more of a pause. So it's more building pipeline, right, of candidates for hopefully the back half of the year when we can go full bore on hiring people. And I think it's being honest with candidates around that, which sometimes is heartbreaking. The person I talked to yesterday had just gotten furloughed, and she needs something right away, and it sucks, right? It's a bummer to say, we can't hire you right now, but I still want you to have those conversations. I want you to meet with more leaders because hopefully in the next month or so, I'm trying to be optimistic that things are going to turn around and we can pull the trigger on you. But right now it's more of a kind of a networking game from our end, where we might not have the leeway to bring on 10 people right away, but yeah, we still want to meet you. We still want to talk to you because this is going to pass, and when it does, we're going to go back to business as normal.
Do you find that most of the candidates that you are seeing come across your plate now are in that bucket of unemployed and furloughed, or are you still, or do you get a pretty good healthy chunk of those that are like, well, I've got something, whether or not it's a secure job or not, they don't know, but that they're still locked into an industry or they're locked into a job right now, so they've got a little bit more freedom in that.
Yeah, it's honestly it's been about 50-50. At least the candidates that I've talked to. I think we're targeting a lot of leaders right now, and then leaders are some of at least some, right, depending on the company that you're looking at. Some of those have kind of gotten spared, but it's more kind of the frontline people, especially those that are coming from smaller mom and pop shops, that maybe they had just gotten their foot in consulting, right, and then this all happened, right. And those are the people that you really feel for, but yeah, it's kind of been a mix of 50-50. Those that are they're at least that, or maybe they know that, hey, what, I don't have much longer. I know that my company's struggling right now. I've gotten a lot of those too. So yeah, I guess it's been a healthy mix of both.
So what kind of advice would you give someone that is just entering that fray right now, trying to figure out what to do next, or even someone that's been there for a month or more, that's still looking for work?
Yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to everyone in that situation, but yeah, keep networking, keep reaching out to recruit. I mean, recruiting, right? I'm very fortunate. I feel to continue to have a job, but we still have pretty aggressive numbers, at least coming from our executives that we report to, around people that we need to talk to, people that we want to pipeline, people that we want to put in folders internally for when this passes, right? So there are still recruiters out there that are hiring. Even if you go to Glassdoor, I was helping with a sales lead gen project last week, looking at companies that are still hiring in the Atlanta area. And there are still tons, right? You go to Glassdoor and you just you filter by, hey, jobs posted in the last 7 days, and just see. It might not necessarily be something that you're interested in, but at least that company is hiring. And maybe if that's not the right role, reach out to someone in the company that you think could give you an in, because they might be hiring for something else that isn't posted, right? That's I guess another kind of area of advice too. I mean, don't just go by postings that you see on LinkedIn or even the company website. I think we're probably pretty notorious for.
Oh, we're awful at it. We're awful at it. Anybody going to slalom.com and looking for a job posting, just ignore what's out
Yeah.
there. Just email us.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, exactly right. I mean, I tell people that too, because I'll get a lot of messages say, hey, I'm interested in working here, but I didn't see the right posting for me. So you know what? Don't take everything you see on our website kind of with a grain of salt. And it's more, and that actually is a telltale sign too. Is are there people that are just kind of going in and serial applying for everything, or are people going to kind of do their homework and find out, hey, who's the recruiter in this location, right? And maybe I'm gonna send them a personal note on LinkedIn. I mean, those are the people that I think in my 5.5 years of working at Slalom, I think I hired 2 people that had actually applied for jobs and that was the first time I saw their resume was they had actually applied. Yeah, the other 100 plus are people that have reached out, right? Or they've been referrals. So yeah, so don't just go by what you see on a posting. I think use it as a barometer for, hey, what, this company is still hiring. The lights are still on. There might be something else that I can do to just kind of get my foot in the door.
Just now thinking about that, listening to you talk here and everything, another thing that came to mind is that I feel like that my biggest success of getting a job was when I recognized the recruiter and how they portrayed the company. Like when I met with you the very first time, I immediately got the sense that Slalom was a company that was very professional, very driven, but at the same time very laid back, very caring, very people oriented. I mean, especially when you look at what our some of our core values are and everything like that.
Yeah.
That to me said a lot. And during all the interviews that I did up in those 3 months prior to coming to Slalom, there were some recruiters that I would talk to that just dealing with the recruiter made me not want to work for the company, you know. And I know it's a horrible thing to say because those people have a job and they're trying to do their job, and I don't know what stresses they're underneath and everything like that. But it does really feel like that. How important do you think that is for, again, a candidate that really wants a job to develop that relationship with the recruiter? How much pull does that internal recruiter really have within the hiring process, do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's, I mean, recruiters are the gatekeepers, right? A lot of times, yeah, if you build a good rapport with a recruiter, they're going to pass you on. If you don't, if you guys don't hit it off, or if you do something ridiculous in a first meeting, I mean, they might not send you on, even though you could be a really good fit, right? So I think it's they wield probably a lot of unnecessary power, but yeah, I mean it's important. But I think you're right though. I think you can, and I've worked for companies where recruiting feels very much like a you're a used car salesman, sometimes, right? Where you it's hard to get on board with the company, it's hard to get on board with the vision, you just don't feel it, but you are doing it because it is a job, and that is your job, is to bring on talent. Working at Psalm, I've never felt that way because I do believe in the vision, I believe in the company, I believe in the people, which is rare, I think. For anyone to say, but it doesn't feel like I'm selling, right? When I'm talking to candidates, and I'm more concerned with building that relationship and making sure, hey, you're going to be a right fit versus giving you a hard sell. So I think, yeah, be cautious of the recruiters maybe that are that you don't feel are genuine, and that are going above and beyond just to maybe sell you a bill of goods. I tell everyone, we try and do it in the interviews that we do too. Find a peer, right? Find someone that if you are getting a job or you're getting an offer, find someone that's in that job already. Reach out to them and have a cup of coffee and just get the good and the bad, right? What's it like working here? Tell me things that you don't like. We try and do that as much as we can too, but yeah, leave it on the candidate as well. I mean, make sure that you're doing that, because you can tell where, you can tell the companies, I guess, that people really believe in, just sometimes just from talking to the recruiter.
Yeah, and that's important. That again, that all goes back to that whole know your network thing,
Hmm.
because I know that when I interviewed with all of you, I already had a friend that had already gone through the process and was about 3 weeks to a month ahead of me. And when he would get done with a phase, I'd call him up and be like, "So, how'd it go? I just passed this phase. How's it looking? What do you think?"
Yeah.
Part of it was just to see was I progressing in a positive momentum, and the other was just to find out. We had both been in the same boat. We both got let go from the same company, so it was very cool when he was like, "Yes, I'm happy. This is great. This is better than what we had before." That was all reassuring and everything. I guess another question that I would have is when I'm talking to you as the recruiter that first time and you're asking me the questions, I'm giving you my feedback and everything like that. How much of what I'm saying and how much of what I'm giving you is actually used as kind of the next step go forward verbiage? Like I'm almost prepping you to sell me. So is there anything that people should do when they're having those first initial conversations to ensure that recruiter is selling them best at the next level as it would be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, talking about, yeah, and I'll go back to even just what we're what I like to see in profiles and resumes, but you know, talking about things that you want to learn, talking about, if you're going in for a technology job, or you're trying to get hired as a technologist somewhere, and maybe they are, they're partners with AWS, they're partners with Google Cloud, right? Know that going in, so you can talk about things that you're doing or you've done or you want to do with that specific technology, so that recruiter has some ammo, right? When they are presenting that candidate, and the hiring manager asks, well, have they I don't know, have they gotten this certification? Well, no, they haven't yet, but here's what they're doing to prep themselves on it. So I think, be able to talk about those things, be able to talk about, skills that you've learned, not only just in kind of the working corporate world, but skills that you learn, life skills. I think one of our managing directors here is sometimes wary about hiring those that haven't had, I'm trying to think of the best PC way to say it, but haven't had kind of true life experience, right? So if you've been at a if you've been at a company for 15 years and you've been a project manager at that company for 15 years, but you haven't, I don't know, you've been more of a project coordinator, right? And you're maintaining a timeline and make sure that the project's on budget. Great, right? But how deep have you gotten into that project? Have you actually tried to learn, right, what the project is, what's being implemented? Have you implemented change? Have you tried to make an impact, right, with something versus kind of sitting in a cube and being, waiting to be told what to do, right? So it's having more of those, life experiences, and then if you're trying to do that, right, maybe the role that you're in just doesn't allow that, but maybe you are involved in a charity or a nonprofit where you have to manage a budget, you have to manage timelines, you have to talk to, I don't know, donors, right, to get funding, right? Talk about that stuff. I mean, that is incredibly important. It shows that you are doing stuff outside of your day-to-day 9 to 5, and even though maybe you haven't had that program management, aspect, you're doing it in other areas of your life, right? So try and think of areas where, maybe you can relate the role to different areas of your life, to even talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something that I always look for when I was interviewing people as well as, what are you doing outside of the world? Because people tend to forget some of those skills that they've got because it's not what they're doing in their job today. But they may be doing it at home or with friends or through a church or through a nonprofit group or something like that. That just speaks to volumes of what they want to do. So that's awesome. So what's one question that you wish a candidate would ask that they just don't seem to ever ask you, or they don't ask enough?
Yeah, no, I get the wide gamut, but I mean there are, and it takes time too, right? I think if you're a candidate, bounce questions off people in your home, off friends, right? I mean, the more insightful questions that I get, the more likely I am that I want to pass you on, right? So part of when I do my assessment, I want you to come with questions. I love answering questions about the company, about the role. What someone asked something the other day, right? So we have a flatter hierarchy at Slalom, and someone asks, right, which is a super fair question. I mean, how do you progress? How do you grow in your career? If you have a flat hierarchy, great, awesome question, right? Ask those types of things, and that shows that you did some homework on the company. You know that we're. I mean, that's not something that we tout out there. We talk a little bit that we're a flatter structure, but that shows they actually did some homework on us, right? Ask me questions about, what do you wish you could change at Psalm, right? What's something that as a company you guys are working on? Yeah, again, I think sometimes candidates rely on just hearing all the good. Ask about the bad too. I want to make sure I tell you about it. I don't ever want there to be a surprise, when you're coming through that interview, you start and you say, gosh, you know what, my recruiter didn't tell me about this, or no one told me about this, throughout the interview process, right? Make sure you're asking those. And then ask about me, right? I mean, I always ask candidates, hey, what are you passionate about outside of work? Ask me that question. I love talking about things outside of work. I'll talk about video games all day with you.
We did.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
still do.
Well, that's right. But that shows, right, that you want to make a genuine connection. You want to build a relationship, which again is really about kind of what we're doing on a daily basis. But I'm trying to think of what are some other really good questions that I've gotten.
How about the flip side of that? What is something that you always get asked, and you're just like, why did they ask this, or it just that has no value. Why are we even going down this path?
Yeah, I don't know. This is probably a cop out answer, but honestly, ask whatever you want. I'm an open book. I would much rather my interview process now is, hey, take me through a quick overview of your resume, of your background. Tell me something that's that I can't get right from your resume that I'm not going to see on your background. Tell me what you're passionate about outside of work, and then let's talk about the company, right? Let's talk about questions that you have. Let's talk about anything that you want to talk about. So I mean, the 50% of my interviews now are answering questions, and I want you to bring questions. If you don't have any, I'll find things to talk about and ask you about. But really, I mean, there are no stupid questions. I mean, I'll take that back. Right? If you don't know, gosh, we've asked people, right? We've asked people, hey, if you were to sit down with Brad Jackson, who's our CEO, what's something that you would ask him? And we'll get, well, who's Brad Jackson, right? Or I'll ask, hey, what do you know about slalom, right? And I don't really know anything. I just, I saw the posting, or I saw the job description. I thought it would be up my alley, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's a huge red flag, right? So know what you're interviewing for. Know about the company. Know who the CEO is. Know the basics. Hopefully, you don't have to ask me that in an interview. Don't ask me. You can ask me how many offices we have. Have a good general round idea though of how many that we might have. But yeah, I don't know. There's not really anything that I'm gonna shy away from or snub my nose at if you ask me about the company, because I want you to know. I want you to be as passionate about it as I am. So I want you to know everything that you can.
That's awesome. All right, final question. This is something we're going to ask pretty much everybody on the podcast series, and you're going to know the question because we use it a lot at Slalom for opening up conversations and getting the room warmed up. But what is the last thing that you bought on Amazon?
Well, I say the last thing that I got on Amazon as a gift yesterday was I got Apple AirPod Pros.
Oh, nice.
That I'm trying out today. They seem to be working pretty well. But trying to think of what last thing I bought a book. It's called The Matterhorn, and it's a book about Vietnam. I think it was a retired sergeant or general. I think he spent like the last 30 years kind of writing a book about Vietnam. I haven't started it yet, but it's sitting over there. I'm looking at it, but I'm going to read it eventually.
Very cool. Very cool. And if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, what information do you want them to have about you?
Yeah, look me up on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. Just Brian Smith at Slalom. I'm the only Brian Smith currently in our Atlanta office. But yeah, reach out to me, connect with me, shoot me a note right when you connect. I'll connect with most people, but I'm more likely to connect with you and engage with you even if you just shoot me a note. Doesn't have to be long. Doesn't have to be interesting. Just write something in there instead of just blindly connecting with people. But yeah, I'm around. So come find me.
Excellent. Well, Brian, I appreciate your time today. This was a very fun conversation, and hopefully the listeners got a little bit of extra insight into the world of recruiting, and they're better prepared for their next engagement. So appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I enjoyed it. Take care.
You've been listening to Fired Before Christmas. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode and getting to know my guests better. If you'd like to learn more about our show, please find us on the web at firedbeforechristmas.com. And any questions or interest in the show, please feel free to email me at host@firedbeforechristmas.com, or again, check out our website. Until next time, I'm your host, Eric Ryan Jones, and you've been listening to Fired Before Christmas.